Hello, geometry class. How are you guys doing? We're going to start a new lesson today. I think today's lesson will be pretty short. We're not going to talk about a whole lot, and I think the thing that we are going to talk about today is something that you have probably done before a little bit, but we'll review it. We'll have a few problems. Homework tonight is going to be very easy and short, so you are lucky, all right? This is our last week of classes. Our last week of classes. Next week we will have Monday and Tuesday to review, and then we will have our exam. All right. We will have our exam on Wednesday. All right. So let's look at our book. We are skipping all the way to section 11.1. All right, 11.1. And today we're going to focus on just this first part of 11.1. All right. We are going to talk about circumference. All right, circumference. And we are going to first give a definition of circumference. What is circumference? Let me zoom in here. All right. All right, what is circumference? It's a very easy definition. Circumference is just the distance around a circle. All right. It's just the distance around a circle. All right. So, for example, if I draw a picture of a circle here. All right. Let's draw a circle. All right. Here is a circle. All right. And if I start at one point in the circle, let's say I start right here at this point, and I start walking around. I walk all the way around the circle. How far did I walk? That is the circumference. All right, that's what the circumference is. It's just the distance around a circle. So you can also imagine it. What if this was a string in a circle, and I take some scissors and I cut it right here, and then I fold the string out, all right, from here to here, all right, and you will get one long string, all right. This red string will be long. It will turn into a long string, all right. How long is that string? Well, that will be the circumference of the circle, all right, the circumference. All right, so remember, the distance around a circle is called the circumference. That's it. All right. And in math, when we talk about the circumference, we usually represent it with a big capital letter C. All right. So a big C is the circumference of the circle. All right. There's one other word that I want to talk about today. It is actually not listed here. All right. So I'm going to write it right here, and it's this word. All right. Well, that's not a word in English. It's not a word in any language, but it is a letter in the Greek language. All right. And this letter is called pi. We usually spell it P-I. All right. Pi. Now, you guys have probably all learned about pi before, or at least talked a little bit about it. I want to make sure that we know exactly what is pi. And I don't mean what number is pi. You guys probably know that pi is about 3.14, all right, or 3.14159, and it keeps going on and on and on forever, all right? But what is pi? The definition of pi is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. All right. That is what pi is. All right. Pi is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. Well, let's talk about what that means. Well, if we take the center of this circle, let's say this dot, this point right here is the center of the circle, all right? And if I draw a diameter, do you guys remember what a diameter is? We talked about it before, all right? What is a diameter? Well, the diameter is a line. It's a line that starts on one point on the circle. So I pick a point, any point on the circle. All right, here's the circle. I can pick any point here. I'm going to pick this point. Oop, that's too fat. All right, I don't want a fat line. All right. All right, where's my line? All right, so I'm going to pick a point right here, and I'm going to draw a line to the other side of the circle. But remember, a diameter has to go through the center. All right, so it goes through the center. All right, so it goes from one side of the circle all the way to the other side of the circle through the center, like that. All right, so this yellow line is a diameter. All right, it's a diameter. So, and we usually call the diameter, we usually call it d. All right, little d. All right, so the length from here all the way over to here. Actually, let me put that d in a different spot. I'm going to put it like right here. All right. All right, so the length from here all the way to here is called d. That is the diameter. So pi is the ratio of c. All right, remember c is the distance around the circle, the circumference, and d, which is the length from here to here going through the center. All right. So another way of writing that is I could say that pi always equals the circumference divided by the diameter. See, the pi is the ratio. Remember, a ratio is just when you divide two numbers, all right? So the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter is pi, okay? So you should remember that, all right? Pi is always this. And we have found out, mathematicians thousands of years ago, all right, were researching this and studying it, and they found out that the circumference of a circle divided by the diameter is always the same number. It is always a special number. And that number, they gave it a name. They gave the name pi. And it equals about 3.14159, and then keeps going on forever and ever. There are infinite numbers of decimal points here. Pi just keeps going and going and going because it's what we call an irrational number. You don't need to know that right now. An irrational number is just a number that has a decimal point that keeps going forever and ever, infinite. All right? So this number is the number that whenever you take any circle, it does not matter how big the circle is or how small the circle is, any circle, if you find its circumference and then you find its diameter, if you divide the two, you will always get pi. All right? Always. That's what pi is. All right? Well, that's very helpful for us because that helps us to solve some things. If we look at this, we see here that pi equals c divided by d. Well, if we multiply both sides by d, this d will go away. All right, goodbye this d. And we'll move it over to here. So we'll have c equals pi times d. All right? All right, so c equals pi times the diameter. All right, so that's a rule that you should remember. If you know the diameter, then you can find the circumference. You just multiply by pi, and then you've got the answer. All right. Also, we know that d equals 2 times the radius. Remember, the radius is this distance. If I start from here and I go to here, this distance is called r, which is the radius, all right? So d is 2 times r. So we could also write the circumference is 2 times r times pi. All right, right? 2 times r times pi, because d is 2 times r, and then we times pi, so 2r pi. And we usually actually write this as 2 pi r, because these are constants. These are constants, and this is a variable, all right? Constants, variable. All right, so 2 pi r. So these right here, these things right here are the two formulas for finding the circumference of a circle. And so we're going to use those today to do some simple problems, all right? So I'm going to scroll down to our examples now, and we'll do a few examples. Like I said, today will be probably a pretty short lesson. So let's look at this one. Diameter of a circle with a circumference of 10 inches. So we have a circle. They tell us that the circumference, the distance around C, is 10 inches. All right, 10 inches. All right, and we want to know what is D. All right, what is D? We want to know that. Well, remember, we know that the circumference of a circle equals D times R. I'm sorry. I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. C equals pi times D. All right, right? All right. So remember, we just talked about our formulas up here. All right, C equals pi D. All right, C equals pi D. All right. So we already know that C equals pi D. So we know this. Now here we know that 10 is going to equal pi times D. But we want to know what is D. Well, if we want to have D by itself, we're just going to have to divide by pi and put it under here. So D is going to be equal 10 divided by pi. And then I want you to write this, and I want you to write a decimal point approximation. So let me bring up a calculator, all right? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write 10 divided by pi. And our calculators usually have a pi button on it. So we're just going to write 10 divided by pi. This is pi. 3.14159265535, blah, 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 blah. And it keeps going on forever and ever and ever. All right? And we're going to hit equal. And the answer is 3.183, blah, 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 blah. All right? Now, I'm just going to have you round it to 2 decimal points for now. All right? So we're going to write 3.18. 3.18. Now, you need to remember, always use units. When we are measuring lengths and stuff, you need to tell me the units. Is it 3.18 meters or feet or inches or centimeters? All right. In this case, it's inches. So we're just going to write inch. We're going to put IN back here. So the answer here is that the diameter of the circle is 3.18 inches. So if this is 3.18, then the circle circumference is 10. Okay? Next, number 2. We want to find the circumference of a circle, all right, with a radius. So here's a circle. All right, we want to know what is the circumference, and we do know that the radius, remember, that's the distance from the center to the side to a point on the circle, is 3 centimeters. All right? Well, again, we're going to use the formula that we had up above, and that formula was C equals, this time they gave us radius, so we're not going to use pi d, we're going to use 2 pi r. All right, these are the two formulas that you need to know, this one and this one. All right, 2 pi r. So in this case, we know that 3 is the radius, so we're going to write 2 pi times 3. Well, what does that equal? That equals 6 pi. All right? So we could just write that. That is an acceptable answer. That's an exact answer. Or we can find the approximation. Actually, I should put approximation here because this is not exactly the answer. Or we can use approximation using a calculator, all right? So I'm going to write 6 times pi equals 18.849. So this is a 9, so we're going to round up. This will be 5. So 18.85. 18.85 centimeters. Okay, this says centimeters, so we're going to use centimeters down here, and we got our answer. All right, next, let's look at number 3. The radius of a circle with a circumference of 8 feet. Okay, so again, they told us the circumference of the circle, C, equals 8. And we want to know, what is the radius? All right, what is the radius? Okay, from here to here. All right, we want to know that. Well, again, we're going to, since this gives us circumference and radius, so we're going to use this formula again. C equals 2 pi r. C is 8, so 8 equals 2 pi r. We want to know r, so we're going to say r equals, and we're going to have to divide both sides by 2 pi. This goes away, and this side becomes 8 divided by 2 pi. All right. And that is the exact answer. Or if we want to find an approximation with a calculator, we're just going to say 8 divided by, and then I'm going to use parentheses, 2 times pi. And then I'm going to close the parentheses and hit equals. And this is the answer, 1.27. All right, so 1.27. And it's feet, all right? Centimeters, feet. All right, so I'm going to write feet. The short for feet is just FT period. All right, and that's the answer, 1.27 feet. All right, and we're just going to do one more today. All right, the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 2.4 meters. So here we have a circle. The diameter from one side to the other is 2.4. All right, so D equals 2.4. And we want to know, what is the circumference? All right, what is the circumference? So again, since we have C and D here, we're going to use this formula, which is C equals pi D. All right. Well, we don't know C, but we do know D is 2.4. So it's pi times 2.4, or in other words, we could say 2.4 pi. All right, so C equals 2.4 pi. If we want to approximate that with our calculator, we can again take out our calculator and just write 2.4 times pi and hit equal. And you get 7.539. So this is a 9, so this is going to round up. So it's 7.54. 7.54. And it's meters, which is just M. And we're done. Okay, so that's it. That's all we're doing today. All right, we're just going to do some problems using circumference, radius, and diameter. All right, now your homework for today is going to be in your books in section 11.1. All right, in section 11.1, we're going to do a very short homework. We're going to do number 3, 4, 5, 6. Those ones are very easy, just like what we did. All right, they tell you the radius or the circumference or the diameter, and you have to find something else. Easy. And then I'm going to give you one problem that's a little bit more difficult, but not very difficult. I want you to find number 15. All right, I want you to do number 15. Number 15, it's asking, find the perimeter of the shaded region. So we have this blue shape here. What is the perimeter? That means the length of the, or the distance around it. All right, so from here to here is 13. All right, 13, 13. But you also need to know this distance and this distance. Now you should be able to find this distance and this distance with what we learned today. All right, so that's your homework. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 15. Very short. That's all for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.